Hi friends, it's me Ali, your friendly neighborhood Chanel expert. Today we're doing another Coco Goes to Work look. I am going to recreate one of my go-to staple makeup looks for when I used to work for the brand. But before we go any further, let's take a second to grab our iced coffee or a hot coffee. Let's take a sip and let's get started. For today's look, we're going to be using one of my favorite eyeshadow formulas from the brand, the Tissé series, and I will be using the 202 Tissé Camélia. This palette I loved and still love so much to this day. It is soft, it is luminous, it adds color in the purple hues, but it's very subtle because I often wanted some sort of color, but without being too jarring, without being too flashy as well. You know, it is Chanel at the end of the day. And so this palette here, really, I used it with muscle memory, to be honest. I absolutely love this color here. It's almost like a taupe with some sort of lilac underneath. We have this beautiful peachy pink color. It's a wonderful staple. This white here, and then this here is like a very dark purple brown. So this gave me a beautiful purple look without being too dramatic and too intense. And I created a look like this a couple of weeks ago using a different Tissé palette. And we're going to talk about the Tissé eyeshadow formula because I heard from a friend of a friend that all of the eyeshadows this year are getting reformulated. Everything that I'm wearing and mentioning is listed in the description box down below. Please go have a look there. So I'm going to start with this color here. I think it's the one that I've used the most. And I'm using the dual-ended brush here, the blender and shader. And I'm going to pack this on the lid. What I like about the Tissé formulation is that I find that the finish is luminous, soft, and sophisticated all at once. This is just this one color here. And there is a soft satiny reflection, but there's something in the formula. The eyeshadows are baked, so when you're touching them, they feel a bit harder, but it doesn't take much work at all to get color payoff. So it's luminous, but imagine if you have slightly more mature or crepey eyelids. The satin reflection isn't a glittery chunk, so it's a very sophisticated look. I'm just switching to the other side here to blend this out, which is why you can wear a purple palette like this that's very soft and more taupe purple than anything else, and it doesn't necessarily have to look like you're wearing that much color, to be honest. The Tissé palettes always have a balance of light and dark shadows, and even though they are baked eyeshadows, they almost have a creaminess to them once you apply them, because this color here, when you're swatching it, it takes a little bit to build it up on the hand, but on the eye it just glides so nicely. And for a lot of people, we've thought of the Tissé shadows as a staple of the brand forever and a day, but I was doing a bit of research and I remembered that the Tissé formula, this one here that we have, came out a decade ago in 2014. And before that, there were the quadras. They were a quad, but the eyeshadows were square. The Tissé formula that we have here replaced the quadras beforehand. And the quadras were known for being very, very light. I think some of them were more opaque than others, but some of them were a little bit invisible in a payoff. So these were a huge improvement in opacity and color payoff. Using a Sigma E45, I'm going into the darkest color. Now, the darkest color here is very opaque. You can see it didn't take much to get the color payoff, so that is nice. I'm just going to knock off a little bit here, and I'm just going to put a little bit in the crease, and then I'll use, I think, a clean separate brush to clean this off. And when these came out, when these launched in 2014, there was one Tissé, I think it was called Tissé Mademoiselle. It was the very neutral one. That one we literally could not keep in stock in store. It was just always flying off the shelf because, like I stated, this is a more sophisticated, satiny, natural formula. And then if you have natural hues, hello, have you met the typical Chanel client? We literally could not keep this off the shelf. But then there was another one that came out, Tissé Vendôme. I still have that one. That one was the opposite. It was, I don't want to say flashy, but it was beautiful. It was greens. It was greens and silver taupe and lots of color. The opposite of Mademoiselle. And that was the one that was in all the promotions, all the marketing, all the ads, and people were just like, I want that. They would point to that. I want that. I don't know how to wear it, but I want that one. That one was absolutely beautiful. I still have a little magnet on my fridge. Here it is. This lives on my fridge now, but these came out, I think we wore them on our uniform because it's a magnet, so you'd wear it on your uniform as part of the promotion. So this is what the Tissé Vendôme looks like magnetically. And yeah, that one, everyone loved it. It just looks so stunning and very beautiful. But, Tissé Camélia was my go-to. Did I say Tissé Vendôme? I meant Vénitien. Oops, my bad. I'm using a Refer 13 mini here. But yes, Tissé Vénitien, that's the green one. And the Tissé Vendôme, that's the one that I used last time. That's the more neutral one with that beautiful peach. Absolutely stunning. There was also the Tissé Rivoli, which I wore a lot. But I think it was always between this Cambon palette that I'm using today. Cambon? Camélia. My goodness, I'm mixing all of them up. It's between this one and the one that I used last time that I used the most. Let's go into this beautiful peachy palette here. This is a separate dual-ended brush. I'm just going to layer this on top of that slate taupe color that I used before. All of that to say, I find it interesting that, for me, I've thought of the Tissé formula as very classic for the brand and as classically part of the brand forever, but that's not true. It's only been around for a decade, and I was there when that transition happened. And I was very happy to see the quadras leave because they just weren't pigmented enough for my taste, and these were received so well. So, I mean, fingers crossed, because like I stated, a friend of a friend told me that the entire eyeshadow quad series from the brand is getting reformulated this year. I do not know if that means that everything is going to be redone with a new formula or if things will go the way of the dodo and new quads, new colors will be introduced. I have absolutely no idea. But if the Tissé formula came out of the last renovation, reformulation, perhaps we can expect something better. And I know it's very scary and very natural to be apprehensive because reformulations are not always the best. I don't like the current blush formula, but guess what? That will get reformulated yet again. One day, everything does. Everything that's new becomes old and old becomes new. So we'll have to wait and see. Dipping back into that dark color, I'm going to trace it on the lashes here. And one thing to note about Chanel, they are always reformulating something. Like, this is something that they have always done. Their lipsticks, their eyeshadows, the foundations, everything gets redone. Everything gets a facelift, a makeover every few years. We've seen it with the entire lipstick ranges, like from the Rouge Allure, Rouge Coco Flash, the velvets, everything gets redone. And the eyeshadows haven't been like the quads, they got rid of the cream shadows. I mean, they're still there, but they're not really there. They came out with the liquids instead. And we just have not seen the eyeshadow quads reformulated in years. Think about it. When was the last time we saw a huge overhaul of the eyeshadows? So it really was due. I'm just doing a little flick here in the corner with this brush here. This is the opposite side here. It's basically like a dual-ended pencil brush. Just doing a little flick. I remember one summer they came out with Tissé Jazz, which was the most beautiful blue palette. So what I would do is when I would go into work, I would just go a few minutes earlier, and then I would just I would clean the makeup and I would do my makeup with whatever was hot that season. Usually just the eyeshadow, like everything else I had my own, but I wasn't going to buy every single new palette, and I didn't need to because I could just wear it at the counter. Moving on, I'm going to do some liner and mascara. So I would normally recommend to clients that they go with a purple liner, like something dark, like a cassis or a prune intense, something dark plum. But at the time, back then, I always went in with a black eyeliner because I didn't have the means to buy a million eyeliners in every color. And we did receive like twice a year, like gifts from the brand. It was part of our salary, but we could make a list of products that we wanted to get. And I always went for like black mascaras, black liners, because it's really universal. So I'm going to stick with a black eyeliner. All that to say, if you do have like a dark plummy eyeliner, that will just pull that plum a little bit more. When I'm applying eyeliner on the bottom lashes, I'm not doing a line. I'm sort of just tapping here, and that looks like my lashes on the bottom are nice and thick, and it just helps frame the eye. For the complexion, since it's winter, I want an extra glass of water for my face. So I'm going into the Water Fresh tint, the original formula, and this is the shade medium. So what I do is I put this on the back of my hand. It's very runny, not that. I have a brush. I'm taking this here and I crush it like this. That's what you do. You sort of crush the pigments in the water and then you apply. So I like this skin tint in the summer on its own. I might do 2 pumps to get very light minimal coverage, but I also like it as a primer because it just blurs a little bit and gives me an extra layer of hydration, which I desperately need this time of year. Just like that. It doesn't, I mean, it has some color, some coverage. It's very, very light, very minimal. I really struggle calling it a foundation. It's really more of a skin tint. I think if you call it a skin tint, you're less likely to get disappointed. And I'm going to go into my Vitalinea Aqua here. I'm using the shade B40, maybe a little bit dark for me in the winter. You have to give it a good shake because it can separate. So just a couple drops like this. I like how natural it is. And when you work for Chanel, any brand really, you like part of your contract, part of your uniform is a full face of makeup. Now they do stipulate, I mean, I don't know what the contract looks like today, but it says like foundation, eyeshadow, lipstick, blah, 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 which makes sense because you're there to sell the products. But it doesn't have to be the most heavy duty, high coverage foundation. You basically just have to look like you're wearing makeup. I mean, like, yes and no. Like, you don't have to look like you're wearing like a mask, but you can't look like you didn't shower and rolled out of bed, is what I'm trying to say. So even if you're wearing a very light coverage foundation, that's fine, as long as you're wearing some foundation, because some clients want the lightest coverage. Some clients don't even want foundation. So it's nice to have a wide variety of people working at the counter. There's always someone who's going to be there with a full face of makeup, full glam. That was me at like the crack of dawn. There's always someone who wears no eyeshadow, but like always the darkest red lip, or, you know, there's always like a variety happening, and that's fine as long as you just find a way that works for you. Like if you don't want to do a full face, you have to figure something out instead. And sometimes a good mascara and lots of lipstick makes it look like you have a lot of makeup on, but you don't. For the concealer, I'm going into my Sublimage concealer, which did not exist at the time, but we're gonna pretend that there's a time machine and I'm wearing this. I love it because it's so heavy duty, but in a natural way. Like it blurs, it covers, it hides dark circles, and it doesn't smudge. So once you blend it out, it stays in place. You don't have to go like this halfway through the day in between clients. I'm using the concealer brush as well just to blend this out. So it's my favorite. I've used other concealers from Chanel, but this is the one that I go to the most. For the powder, I have one of my older Libre Healthy Glow compacts. I'm going to use the shade number 20 here, and I'm using a big kabuki brush. I almost said kabuki blush. No, kabuki brush. I'm going to apply this. I feel like the Les Beige Healthy Glow Compacts is another area that's been a little bit neglected from the brand. I mean, the Les Beige has been a little bit all over the place. We had like the Winter Glow this season a few weeks ago that we saw, but it used to be that they would come out with a new compact of the Les Beige face powders every year, and then they sort of just stopped. So it would be nice to see this again, or who knows, they may never do them again. It's hard to tell because at some point they did come out with a new Healthy Glow Compact every year, but at some point they didn't. It isn't, you know, just because it's routine for us doesn't mean it's actually going to be there forever, sadly. I'm going to use my Les Beige Cream Bronzer in 390. It's the Soleil Tan. I'm just going to knock this off here. It's going to take a little bit. Not a lot, I just want to feign the look of vitamin D, basically. For the blush, like I said, I don't love the current blush, like the permanent blushes, but I do like the seasonal ones, and I have the Les Beige Healthy Glow blush that came out recently. This is Rose Polaire, so a polar rose. I do want something a little bit pink. I think that'll go really nicely with this look, and look at this palette on brown eyes. See, it's not, it looks subtle, but it just looks so beautiful on brown eyes. Green eyes, hazel eyes, oof, yes. So I'm using the blush brush here. I'm going in to this blush. I know some people did not love this Les Beige blush. I like it. Listen, Les Beige is soft and buildable. So this blush here is going to be soft and buildable. Like if you don't like the color, that's a whole different story. But I don't mind that it takes a little bit more work to apply. And it has the slightest shift to it. It's very subtle. It's very, very soft. I'm going to try something new here. I have my Baume Essentiel in Lilac. This came out a couple years ago. I think it was the last Le Blanc collection that came out. I'm going to put some on my thumb here. Okay, that works. Because sometimes I struggle applying cream or liquid highlighters or products over top of powders. It sort of shifts and moves, but if you do this, this works nicely. For the lips, I want something long lasting, but that's going to stay in this sort of slight pink, cool vibe that I have going on. I have one of the Rouge Allure ink. Yes, Rouge Allure ink in 168 Serenity. So these liquid lipsticks, you have to give them a shake, a good shake. I actually prefer the Rouge Allure ink Fusion formula. That was discontinued, of course, but I like this one here. It's pink with a little bit of a lilac. It's a little bit nude. The liquid formula is super long wearing, whether it's this formula or this formula, these just last hours, like up to 12 hours. I'm not even joking. So if you're eating, drinking, talking, working, and you can't really touch up your lipsticks, try one of the liquid long-lasting formulas. They really are long-lasting. I'm going to add a touch of gloss. I have the shade 716, just a little bit, just to zhuzh it up. Starting off with that liquid lipstick and then adding a touch of the gloss means my lip color will last all day, but that gloss will just add a bit of moisture so I'm not drying out as I'm blabbing all day. Now for the perfume, if I was at the counter, I would actually go into Cristal Eau de Toilette, which sadly has been discontinued here in Canada. I love that one. It's not, most people don't wear it. I don't mean Cristal Eau Verte. I don't like that one as much on me, but the Cristal Eau de Toilette, it has like nectarine in it and it's really nice. But anyway, instead of that, I'm going to go into Chance, the classic Chance. I have the hair mist because, you know, why not be extra? I really like the classic Chance perfumes. Like obviously I like the whole series, but the classic Eau de Toilette or the Parfum, it's nice, it's clean, it's fresh, a little bit fruity, a little bit feminine. Yeah, that's it. So this was my go-to eye look. Again, on brown eyes, this is so pretty. It sort of sucks you in because it has that soft, subtle, deep plum, that little taupey lilac. It's purple without being purple is really the best way to describe this palette. So easy to use, so pretty, and I really would just go by muscle memory and to do it really quickly. So that is today's look. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Leave a comment down below letting me know what else I should talk about in my next Ask a Chanel Expert series, where I talk about my expertise from the brand, talk about my past there. I could talk about how I got my job there. I don't know. Would that be interesting? Let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys for today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.